For our first story, we start with politics, and the incumbent member of parliament for Ablekuma West, Ursula Owusu-Ekufo, has won her party's primaries, giving her another opportunity to contest for the seat come November 7. She managed 554 votes as against Ronnie Nicole, her contender in the poll, who only managed 317 votes. Though peaceful, the primary generated a lot of controversy, with almost half of the constituency executives resigning from their positions over alleged bias for the incumbent. Another aspirant, Theophilus Tete, also pulled out of the race for similar reasons. They claim the use of 2 registers for the election was a deliberate attempt by some elements within the party to ensure victory for the incumbent, Ursula Owusu-Ekufo. Latif Idris has a lot more.
Voting began around 8:30 a.m. in the Ablekuma West New Patriotic Party primary amidst mass resignation by the constituency executives of the party. The constituency organized a late primary on Saturday to elect a candidate to represent the NPP ahead of the 2016 polls. But the problems that led to the postponement of the elections were far from over. After several months of postponement, the party scheduled the election for Saturday, April 9, 2016. But on the eve of the election day, the acting chairman and his vice, women's organizer, and 10 other constituency executives all resigned, citing manipulation by the incumbent MP, Ursula Owusu-Ekufo. One of the candidates, Theophilus Tete, pulled out of the election, claiming the decision by the National Executive Council to use 2 albums for the election is only to favor the incumbent. Reports said Theophilus Tete was the former chairman of the constituency and had helped in compiling the album for the previous election. However, with Saturday's election in the offing, the National Executive Council of the party decided that a second album be added to be used side by side in the election, a decision which angered Mr. Tete and the constituency executives. He subsequently withdrew from the race, leaving 2 other contenders, the incumbent Ursula Owusu-Ekufo and Ronnie Nicole. On the election day, however, Ursula Owusu-Ekufo could not find her name in both registers, causing agitation among a section of supporters. An intervention by the party's director of elections, Martin Ejai-Mensah-Kosa, however, ensured that the member of parliament for the area cast her vote. Hours after, the election came to an end and counting began.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Then came the declaration that saw Ursula Owusu given another mandate to represent the NPP in November's poll. In a gesture that will vote for teamwork in a troubled constituency, Ronnie Nicole conceded defeat to his compatriots shortly after the polls.
I'm very glad I've gone through the process. I'm very glad with the massive numbers of delegates that turned up, and I know, God willing, next time is going to be my turn. Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. But what matters is that we might unite as a party and move forward and help our flag run. And
Ursula Owusu, on the other hand, expressed gratitude to the many supporters who worked for her victory.
It is time for us to come together as one party, united behind their candidates, to work hard to retain the seat and to maximize the votes for our presidential candidate, Nana Akufo-Addo. I thank
Ablekuma West was one of few constituencies that were exempted in the nationwide NPP primaries held last year to elect parliamentary candidates for the 2016 elections. There were issues of voter albums, accusations, counter-accusations, and legal tussle that kept the elections from being held.
Well, so we'll try and speak to the winner and see in the course of the program how she feels about the whole victory and thereof how she hoped to match the front of the MPP and forge ahead for the 2016 general elections. Now, let's look at this very story. And the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, is accusing the Finance Ministry of deliberately delaying the validation processes which would allow for members to be paid their arrears. There's currently an ongoing exercise to validate the document of teachers to facilitate payment for NAT members, and the Finance Ministry, according to the association, has failed to release funds needed for the validation exercise to be completed. Currently, NAT fears the validation team may suspend its work again by the end of this week after an earlier suspension. Speaking to Joy News, head of compensation at NAT, Ahena Kwakwashi, accused the Finance Ministry of sabotage due to the lack or availability of funds.
This as a deliberate attempt to frustrate the payment of these arrests to the people who are due for those payments. If government has shown commitment, why are we breaking again when the exercise is incomplete? What I want us to do is that government should release enough funds for the exercise to continue. So we finish with it. Most of our people are calling us, finding out whether they have been validated, and if they have not been validated, when are they going to validate them, and that kind of thing. And it's a source of worry to us. Already we have had one break, and then we are told that we are going to break again. Indeed, as on Wednesday, out of the 29,000 documents that are in data for which audit service is validating, only 18,893 or so have been done. And so it means we are left with close to about 10,000 or 10,000 plus. And they say by Sunday we are breaking. So which means that we may not even be able to complete the 29,000. Meanwhile, there are a lot of the data, a lot of the documents that are not in data that Ghana Education Service submitted to audit. That one they have not touched. And then when the crisis also came up, a lot of the regions and the districts sent down documents that were not even in data at all. So GS had to ask some clerks to come to the site to do the key-in of those data. That one also we have not worked on them. And then they say we are breaking.
The management of the Tamale Teaching Hospital is appealing to protesting staff of the laboratory unit of the hospital for a roundtable discussion on a raging controversy over the privatization of the laboratory. The appeal follows a threat by agitated staff to do whatever it takes to put a stop to an intended arrangement by the hospital management to privatize the laboratory, a move currently the staff believe would not be in the interests of the patrons. A memorandum said to have been written to the laboratory staff and other sister professional associations at the hospital is inviting the laboratory staff to a meeting on Tuesday. The public relations officer for the hospital, Mohammed Misbah, in an interview with Joy News, said the hospital was hopeful of an amicable solution to the problem.
Labor Act empowers the employer, in fact, with the right to modify, change, or cease operations of any of the services that an employer runs. In fact, we must appreciate the agitations coming from the lab staff. Right. But the truth of the matter is that we will not close our eyes on their agitations. Okay. We would go further to engage them. At the end of the day, we expect an amicable resolution to the problem. There's a process and a procedure that we need to follow, and we are following the processes. We started with an advert, giving some timelines for people to tender in their bids, and we had a closing date to that. This was made in the open. This was done in the open. It wasn't shrouded in secrecy. And for that reason, nobody has said that the outsourcing is going to take place tomorrow or tomorrow next. It's a process that we need to follow and exhaust the entire process before such outsourcing could be said to have taken place.
And before we go, government is being called upon to do more in retaining foreign direct investment through regulatory certainty. Leader of the advisory business unit of Deloitte's West Africa. Michael Vincent, in a media interaction recently, said it is important for government to pay critical attention to the regulation of business certainty if it was keen on retaining foreign direct investors. He added that foreign direct investment to the country had seen continuous growth over the past few years, suggesting that Ghana remains an attractive place for investment in the sub-region.
All investors need regulatory certainty because it allows them, as I said, to plan their business operations. Regulatory certainty, unfortunately, has taken a bit of a knock in West Africa on the back of a number of the fines which have been levied against multinational corporations. Ghana probably hasn't been as affected as let's say, Nigeria. But, you know, this regulatory certainty is crucial. Every investor wants to know that they can make their investment and that they can get their money out of the country as well. Foreign direct investment has continued to increase. I think Africa is seen as a market where there are attractive growth rates. And so, you know, what we're seeing is that the requirements in Africa, particularly for infrastructure growth and development, is significant. So as foreign companies and other governments see the extent to which there is need for infrastructure development,
and that's it for the news. You want to get interactive on any of the stories you've seen, any other topical issue bothering your mind, please make sure you log on to our page on Facebook. Join Us on TV is the page's name. We've linked that very page to our Twitter handle at Join Us on TV. And then we have a number for our WhatsApp platform, 0568 800,000. Please, already I can see a number of messages on that very platform. We're so much grateful. We'll read a couple of them to you very soon. But just in case you feel that you don't have to be where you are, or you think you're not doing what you need to do as much as we're concerned, you need a bit of pep up or propping up. You need also to have a lot more introspection and reinvigoration, also how you can inspire yourself a lot more better. Don't we all need that? But we're using that as a bridge as we also transition to look at the stories on front and back pages of the various newspapers, as we also look at what the stories are on the various news portals, foremostly myjoyonline.com. We also look at the page, the Africa page of the BBC, and then we'll look at City FM and a couple of those pages if we can. But right now, get inspired.